Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be all about popular books that I think are not worth the hype. I also did the opposite. I will link that in the description box and at the end of the video so you can check that out. But in this video, there are definitely going to be some unpopular opinions. To be fair, some of these are really popular. I understand why. Some of them, they're really popular and I do not understand why whatsoever. Obviously, opinions are always going to be subjective, but I thought it would be fun to talk about this topic. That way you might feel validated too. And a lot of these are also fall kind of books, so you're going to get an idea of books that I would skip if you were looking at. The first one I wanted to mention is something that I just recently read, and it was Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. I managed to have no spoilers at all and went into it not having seen the movie or anything, and I found it just okay. Like, I really don't understand why it's so popular. I almost put it down really early on because there's a child that is turned into a vampire, like, very quickly. And I just have a lot of issues with that. I feel like it's never done in a way that I'm like, okay, I can see why this was important discussion. Like, the author kind of does it a little bit, but I feel like it opens the door to, like, weird shit. Because, like, she'll grow older, but she still has the body of a 5-year-old. And very early on, she's described in, like, a womanly kind of way. Like, she's being, like, seductive and has the eye of a grown-up and like a grown woman, specifically that side, and like she's 5. She's 5. And I know some of you mentioned that it's because she was grieving her daughter who passed away and like kind of used her through that storyline, but it's still creepy. It's still creepy. I can't erase that from my mind, and the rest of the story just didn't captivate me. The writing was, again, just okay to me. I found it a little tedious, but that's very subjective. And just overall, the book did not stand out to me. I feel like if it wasn't, so well known, probably would have put it down really early on because, again, I wasn't feeling it and I was hoping that it's so popular. But it was just fine. It was just fine. I did start watching the new TV show, and so far 2 episodes in, it's fine. But again, I'm not really as intensely into it as I've seen others. So for me, it's just not worth the hype. It's definitely not the worst book on this list, but it just was underwhelming for me considering how popular it is. Another one that has become such a big thing, and I really do not understand why, is The Last Thing You Told Me. And that's not true, because I do know why it's so popular. It was picked up by Reese Witherspoon during book club, and then with her empire at this point, she made it into a TV show. I have not seen it. I didn't even realize there was a TV show until recently, and it just such an underwhelming book. I think it also won the Goodreads Choice Award. That's why I picked it up, because again, I was hoping I was going to love it, and it's fine, but like towards the bad side. Long story short, this woman just got married to this man and he had a daughter. They don't really get along, and the husband disappears and manages to leave her message through someone telling her to take care of stepdaughter and, ciao. And like, she's trying to figure out what's going on, what happened, and the way she pieces things together really annoyed me because she jumps to a conclusion. It's like, okay, but how did you get there? How did you get there? And then she's like, oh, we have to go to this other city. She brings a daughter, and like they're just moving in weird directions. Why? What made you think? Makes no sense. And the ending was just honestly underwhelming and kind of pissed me off. Like, I feel like it needs a lot for me to actually be annoyed by the ending, but I just didn't really care for it. I feel like there were a few moments also with the stepdaughters that were weird, and I just didn't care for it. Did not care for it whatsoever. I don't understand why it's so popular. I do, but like, why this book? Why this one? I feel like often that's what happens to me. I'm just left confused. Why so much marketing behind this one book? I just don't feel like it has what it takes to become actually, I take that back. It did become popular. I mean, if you put enough money behind anything, it will become popular, but I feel like you can't convince me that there wasn't something else that came out that year that deserved more hype than this one. I feel like that sounds a bit intense, but I stand by this. I stand by this. So popular, and for what? For what? I really do not get it. Speaking of which, Freida McFadden in general, but I did read The Housemaid this year, and I'm so confused. Why are her books so popular? Who does she know? Because I haven't seen this much marketing, this much money behind an author coming out of nowhere this quickly. Like, she's coming out with books constantly, and I keep getting the lore in the comment section, people telling me I think she's a doctor, and a few people are saying that some of her books are heavily inspired by other ones. Don't sue me. I'm just repeating what was said to me. And I'm confused because the writing was atrocious. And don't get me wrong, I feel like I'm all for like popcorn reads, especially like mystery thrillers. I want to binge read them. I want to forget about them in a year. Like, I don't care. I'll be able to re-enjoy them. Like, it's fine. But this is just not good, and the writing was so bad. I was convinced for most of the book that these events were happening in the main female character's head because they were so delusional. Like, it was just, how do you not see the red flags? Like, this woman went to prison. You don't really know for how long in the beginning, but like, she went fairly young. So you would think she would toughen up and like grow a brain. Clearly, she didn't. And she gets a job as a nanny for this rich family. And like, things are weird. Like, the woman, the wife, is very frazzled. She does not have her things together, and she is, stay-at-home mom kind of thing. And like, she's losing it, gaining weight. And she starts thinking to herself, wow, the poor husband, he's so nice. And like, his wife, I don't know about you, when I see a wife looking like that and the husband being all pretty and all rested, he's the problem. Automatically, I'm like, what is he doing or not doing? Because she should not be overwhelmed staying at home with so much money, with you being, no. But the main female character does not think like that whatsoever. She's just like, that's fun for me. Like, ooh, rich, hot husband. Anyway, I will not spoil what actually happens in the book, but it's just delusional. Delulu, the ending, did not care for it. It felt like it was added just to be able to continue, which, yes, I think there are 3 books now, and I don't get it. I don't get it. The writing was actually bad. And again, I'm not a snob about the writing. I feel like there are plenty of books that I read purely for enjoyment, and they're popcorn reads. I'm just enjoying the ride, and I kept being taken out of the story because I couldn't believe how stupid she was. It's definitely a pet peeve of mine whenever the story relies on the main female character being so dumb, especially if it's something that happens often with an author. Again, I've only read this first one, but currently I'm about to start Never Lie because I already own this. I didn't buy another one just to torture myself, but I want to try it before getting rid of it. I'm hoping I'm going to be wrong, but I have a feeling I'm probably going to be right. But yeah, The Housemaid was just not worth the hype for me. I don't understand. Like, sometimes you read a book and you're like, okay, it wasn't for me, but I get why people like it. I do not get it. I genuinely do not get it. It sounds super harsh, but I feel like this is one of the ones I have the strongest opinion on in this video because I do not get it. See, let's go with one that is super controversial. Red Rising. I do get why it's popular. And in the moment, once I was done with it, I feel like my review was pretty mild because I had just started doing Booktube. I didn't have that many books to compare it to. And looking back, I feel like I have a harsher opinion of it than I had in the moment. So this is a classic like fantasy. I feel like there are some sci-fi elements, dystopian kind of vibes too. And I was describing it at the end by comparing it to like Hunger Games in space, kind of Game of Thrones-esque. And that's true. That's true. I think one of my main issues looking back is the fact that the pacing was a bit off for me. I feel like it took a while to really start, and then afterwards it kind of got boring during the games. We're gonna keep that vague. And again, looking back, I also realized that container tropes I hate. I did read book 2, which continues with it, which I can't stand. Basically, something bad happens to a female character in order for the main male character to start his journey. Annoying. And like in that case, it's like his extremely young wife is young too, but she's murdered, and that's what starts his want for revenge, wanting to destroy the empire. And like it's fine to have a reason for it, but why that? Why that? And then book 2 uses another trope I can't stand. So I feel like overall, actually, it starts in this one too, but I don't want to spoil it. I can happily spoil it in the comment section, as always, but I don't want to ruin it because I do understand that it is popular. This one, I do understand why, but at the same time, I still don't think it was worth the hype. I 100% believe this is going to be the most controversial in this video, but I feel like I've read a lot of fantasy, I've read a lot of sci-fi, and this one just does not stand out to me. I'm not invested emotionally in the characters. There were some interesting political intrigue things in book 2, but it uses tropes that I personally cannot stand, and I feel like the writing doesn't stand out. I don't feel like anything is super unique for me, and again, definitely the most, like, personally don't think it was worth the hype, but this one I completely understand. So like, The Housemaid, no. This one, I get it. I get it. Okay, another one that I was surprised by how popular it is because, again, why? Rock, Paper, Scissor. This is one of those murder, mystery, thriller, whatever category that I'm just confused that it stood out that much to the people because for me, I found it underwhelming and I've kind of forgotten what it was about. I didn't hate it, but it really did not stand out to me. So seeing it more and more, I mean, it's pretty clever. But otherwise, I don't get it. I also don't like that it relies on the trope of, it's not a spoiler, it happens early on. The husband basically can't recognize faces. Like, I know it's an actual thing, but like adding that to a book, it's convenient. It's convenient, and it's used in a convenient way too. No. So this couple, they're struggling, and they go to this remote, probably from the cover. Again, pretty cover. This remote, I think it's a church or something, and they go there for vacation to rekindle, and things happen, but I've forgotten. Like, I have to almost look at the summary to be like, oh yeah, that's the one. Because why? Why? I wanted to discuss quickly A Study in Scarlet because the author of Sherlock Holmes is so popular. I feel like nowadays the adaptations have been better than the actual book. So I was actually excited whenever I picked it up during a challenge. I wanted to try the series. I read the first 2 books, and I mean, I'm sure at the time this was revolutionary. It was amazing and mind-blowing. But I feel like my opinion was tainted by the newest adaptations of TV shows and movies, because the way they're portrayed, it's usually he's explaining how he pieced things together, and it's mind-blowing. And it's really not the way it happens in the books. Again, there are like 100 pages, so I don't want to give you too much information, but there obviously were a few things that were dated, but it just doesn't come off the way I expected. So of course my expectations affected my enjoyment, but I don't think they're that worth picking up. Like, if you were thinking about it, it's like on your list. I feel like some classics you're like, oh, one day I want to. So even though I don't understand why they become popular at the time, I don't understand why people would pick it up still. I mean, curiosity, but I just don't think they're worth it. Really underwhelming. Another one that is currently extremely popular, and I was left confused as to why it's so popular. I do understand it's very readable, okay? But Divine Rivals. Why? I mean, it's kind of insta-lovey. Not really, but like, okay, I think my main issue is that at first I was into it, and then that's what annoyed me. It's a YA fantasy romance. So, main female character, she's struggling. You don't really know why in the beginning. She wants to become a journalist, and she's essentially competing against this boy. And this boy, she can't stand him. You know, very much enemies to lovers. And they're competing for the same job, and at the same time, she's receiving these mysterious letters on the door. Magical, you know, elements in there. And then she ends up having to become a journalist during the war, and she's shipped there, and, you know, you can kind of see where this is going. Nothing will surprise you in my description whenever you actually read the book. It's very obvious what's going to happen. And yeah, it was just fine until she goes to the war, and then the romance starts happening. It was just not good. I feel like it was just really underwhelming. I don't understand why it's so popular. Again, very readable, fine. But I feel like there are so many other ones that I think are worth reading a lot more than those. So yeah, it started fine, ended kind of in a flop for me, did not continue series, will not continue series, and it just left me a little confused. Why this one? There's so many other ones. Why this? Another one that might be an unpopular opinion, but I think it deserves to be mentioned, and it is Demon Copperhead. That was a fine book. It was fine. I don't understand why it became so popular. I feel like every summer there's like one brick, you know, historical fiction, literary fiction, that will become super popular, the must read of the year. And this has been the one that a lot of people have been reading. And I wanted to try it for myself, see how I felt about it. And it was fine. Main character had a harsh childhood. His mother gets into drugs, he gets into the foster system, a lot happens to him, and I found it quite long. I don't think I would have finished it if it weren't for flip-flopping between the audiobook. I found the ending underwhelming, I found the romance kind of coming out of nowhere, kind of pointless, and it just, again, such a big book for so little feelings. Like, I have not much to say. It was fine for what it was. It's not my main genre, to be completely fair, but I feel like there are still other ones that stood out to me a lot more. But it's popular, so it might just be me. But if you feel the same, feel free to mention in the comment section. I feel like this is going to make us feel better if you also didn't enjoy these and everyone seems to love them. You're not alone. I also did not like them. In general, I would say Arlan Cohen, the author, I've tried 2 of his books hoping I was going to find mystery thriller that would work for me, and it's been rough. It's been rough, I have to say. Tell No One and The Woods are 2 books that I've read by him, and almost no feelings about them. I have nothing to say. They were just fine, underwhelming, did not stand out to me. They're unmemorable. I just didn't care for them. I also tried the movie. Is it for Tell No One? And I thought it was really funny that the actor was playing a role that was way younger than his age. Of course, the age gap relationship. Is it more common in French movies? Because I feel like the few that I've seen, it seems to be like a big part every time. Maybe I picked the wrong ones, but I had to laugh. Like, the fact that this is what stood out to me is not a good sign. So if you have a favorite by him, I would love to try more because I want to love him too. And I feel like I keep seeing his books everywhere. I feel like you usually have these like crazy colorful covers and they stand out and you're like, okay, I want to find another mystery thriller that will work for me. And yeah, 2 out of 2 that I really didn't care for. Not a good sign, so I've yet to pick something else by him, but if you have a favorite, feel free to change my mind. I am willing to give him one more shot, but I don't understand the hype. I don't understand why everyone is picking those up because it was just okay. I feel like I could include a Stephen King's book in here, but I I feel like I've been really struggling with him lately. I've been giving him one more shot kind of thing, and I tried At Pupil, which, you know what? Let me include it in here. I understand that he relies heavily on horror and just the more shocking stuff possible to stand out. And I understand that he was usually on for a lot of his stuff, and I get it. But why this one is so popular, I don't understand. I had to put it down, to be completely fair. Although I didn't have high hopes for his endings because his endings usually suck. But whenever the third scene of animal abuse was approaching, it was like, you know what? I think I've hit my limit. Like, you have this all-American boy who decides to torture his neighbor mentally because he found out that he's a Yahtzee, which, like, cool, that's fine. But then he starts being haunted by these stories, and then, you know, obviously the old man is also being hunted. So a lot is happening, and then they release that pressure through, again, animals. And whenever I saw it was like a cat and then a bird and then the dog was coming, and it was like, that is enough for me. That is enough. That was like the first half of the story. So like, it's not even, you know, a spoiler. And I don't love reading those in general, but I feel like I tend to have more leeway for like evil people in like fantasy because it's like it's fantasy than like actual like contemporary or again horror. I don't understand why they're so popular. Like, what do you guys like about them? And I say that having read a lot of his stories. I've probably read like 30, and like there are a handful that I do like, but in general, why is he so popular? His strengths are very strong, like writing from children's point of view, their fears, really good at this. Creating kind of awful characters, he's good at this. But sometimes he just put too many things that are there just for shock value, it feels like. And again, his endings usually suck. And like, why would I read 1,000 pages to feel mad or underwhelmed by the end? Like, it's so, you know what? Bonus. We're gonna add At Pupil, even though I didn't finish it, because so that's going to be it for this video. These are all popular books that I don't think they're worth the hype. I feel like other ones are better. Sometimes from the same author, they have other ones. Some of them I understand the hype, I understand why they're popular, but some of them I'm just left very, very confused. So feel free to leave your own reviews of these books in the comment section, or if you have other popular books that you don't understand why they're so popular, feel free to leave those in the comment section. That way we can also relate or debate. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I will be putting the other version, the popular books I think are worth the hype. And I also did a reading vlog and review video where I went through the Rory Gilmore reading challenge. So if you're curious about that, that was fun to do too. And I did read a Stephen King book there. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.